When I was 18 years old, I ended up having my first boyfriend. His name was James, and I felt like I struck gold with him. He was 19, sweet, was tall and slender, eyes like sapphires, light skin, and long black hair. I was also his first girlfriend, as he was adorably shy. We hit it off very quickly, becoming official by maybe the third day after meeting. When he'd greet me, he always had a beautiful smile when he'd say my name. We'd always meet up before and after classes, and at lunch, kissing and making out together. I honestly thought I was in love with him. The only problem was his mother. Her name was Debbie. She was 42 and widowed for several years. As James was an only child, she seemed overprotective of him. A month after our relationship began, the weird stuff began. One day, James and I were hanging out together after classes, and when I heard someone impatiently honking their car's horn, I looked behind us and I saw Debbie seated in the car. She was honking her horn and giving me a strange look. It was a look of suspicion and a bit of hate, which threw me off. She honked once again, and it was hard. She waved an arm like she was telling James, "Let's go." Suddenly, James stood up and said, "I'm sorry, babe, but my mom's here. I'll see you later." He rushed over, practically jumping into her car. I could hear her shout at him, "Jimmy, who the hell is that girl? Your girlfriend or something?" His response made me feel uneasy. "Yes, she is, but don't worry. You're my number one, mommy." They drove away, leaving me wondering what to think. I still loved James and wanted our relationship to work, but over the days and weeks that followed, the weird stuff continued. He eventually stopped hanging out between classes because his mother might need him. I tolerated this, but I was uncomfortable by his own devotion to his mother. One time I asked him if we could have a date somewhere else. His response was, "If we do go out, mom's gotta go with us." I confronted him about that once, and we had a big fight. He said he was all she had, and he was unwilling to separate from her. I reminded him that I was his girlfriend and needed time with him too. A couple days later, we made up and, things improved. But 6 months after that, we became a couple. The worst occurred. On the school bleachers, we sat together kissing and cuddling, going as far as second base. We paused once, holding each other. I whispered into his ear that I love him, and I'll never forget his response in my ear, "I love you too, Debbie." I pretty much threw him away from me in shock and disgust. He said his mother's name, not mine. Grossed out, I stood up, shouting, and I asked him, "What the hell is wrong with you? You said your mother's name." He honestly looked very embarrassed, but his response was the last straw. He said, "Oh my God, baby, I'm sorry, but you're a way better kisser than my mother." I had enough and I began to turn and walk around the bleachers. At the bottom row, I heard him plead, "Baby, please, I love you." I glanced at him, snarled, and I flipped him off. I continued walking away, never looking back. I never saw James again after that, as he dropped out of college shortly. I went on with my life and I didn't think about him at all, until 10 years later. Scanning Facebook one day, I became curious and I looked him up. It was a move I regretted. His profile photo made me wonder if that was actually the same guy, but it was. He was 29, had gained a lot of weight, terrible complexion. His once beautiful black hair was now a greasy ponytail. He was unemployed and still living with his mother. I then viewed his profile pictures and instantly regretted that. The first was titled, "My Mommy." To my horror, it was filled with weird and honestly creepy photos of his mother. The worst was the newest photo, taken a few hours earlier. It featured his mother standing in the doorway, wearing a sheer lingerie nightie and nothing underneath. It was titled, "My Mommy in the Morning." Sickened, I viewed the other photo file. The contents made my jaw drop. The photos featured various body parts of James that showed scratches, cuts, bruising, different colors, and even marks that looked like burns. Turns out James was a little self-harmer and he punished himself frequently. The newest photo was 2 hours old and showed a nasty cigarette burn on his wrist. It was entitled, "I made mommy angry today. This is my punishment. Sorry, mommy." I immediately exited the Facebook page, horrified and nauseous. I didn't know what to think. I obviously didn't want to see that again. And I still haven't, even after getting a friend request from him. Somehow, he knew that I had seen his page. So I denied him and vowed to ignore him. In 2017, I got a message from him. His mother had just died and he was eager, begging to see me again. She had left him a lot of money and he was a millionaire, it turned out. I almost hated to do it, but I told him to go away and honestly, I blocked him. I heard nothing from him over a year. Then I got a strange email. It was from a man saying that he was James' uncle. It was Debbie's brother, Mike. What he told me disturbed me. He had gone to check on James after not hearing from him in 2 months. He found James in the second floor bedroom, lying on his mother's bed, wearing her nightgown, and his hair was in curlers. He had been staring up at the ceiling, almost in a trance, babbling, "Mommy, mommy, when are you coming home, mommy? I'm waiting, mommy." When James had seen his uncle staring at him in shock, James had said to him, "Hi, Uncle Mike. Have you seen Mama? Is she coming home?" Mike told him that he called his mother on the phone downstairs. James had deemed delighted, but Mike had called a services group and eventually hauled James away to a sanitarium. He remains there now, and I can honestly hope that he's getting the help that he requires. I really feel bad for James. His entire life was wasted because of a woman, his own mother, who refused to let him live his life.